a leader of an organization, how are you not close with the stars of the organization? And the dilemma right now in the WNBA is that the star players, the Asias, the Stewies, the Sabrinas, the Caitlin Clarks, they don't have a good enough relationship with the leader. The Nafisas, they don't have a good enough relationship with Cathy Engelbert. She came in and she wants all the credit for everything, but there's not enough communication between the leader and between the players. And now you got to revolt. Now everybody in the W is like, hold on, we want you up out of there. But I think the best thing I heard is, how can you negotiate if you don't communicate? And the dilemma is there's not even a negotiation, a quality negotiation right now between the players and between the W, because there's not quality communication right now between the players and between the executives for the W.
Adam Silver just dropped the hammer, doing exactly what the Fever faithful have been clamoring for. He axed Cathy Engelbert. Yes, the same commissioner who lectured Caitlin Clark on gratitude was just unceremoniously shown the door. This is a seismic shift, and the league is officially a 5-alarm fire. But before we sift through the wreckage, let me pose a question. Did this move come far too late? What happened? It's simple. Cathy Engelbert is gone, canned, dismissed, ejected from her corner office, and sent packing because of her own disastrous comments about Caitlin Clark. This was the executive who thought it was savvy to suggest Clark should be on her knees, thankful for the league, the one who presided over a league where elbows from players like Alyssa Thomas flew freely, where referees ignored their whistles, only to act bewildered when fans decried the quality of play. The NBA finally drew a line. Adam Silver, the ultimate authority, made the call. And let's be honest, it was overdue. When your star players like Napheesa Collier are publicly crucifying you, when Sophie Cunningham calls your worldview delusional, when Lexi Hull joins the mutiny, and when your entire fan base is on the verge of a boycott, you don't get to keep your job. Let's trace this back to the beginning.
You should resign. You need to resign. Period. Reason I say that, doggy, is because when a player, any player, but especially one of that magnitude, attacks you publicly like that, that weak-ass statement Commissioner Engelbert gave is not good enough. And I'm going to say it. It was a weak-ass statement. Could you imagine somebody directing comments and criticisms at you, taking conversations they've had with you directly and telling the world what you said? And did you see that statement Commissioner Engelbert gave? She basically provided no defense of herself. I don't have the statement directly in front of me, y'all.
Mischaracterization.
A mischaracterization.
She was disheartened.
I'm disheartened at the mischaracterization. What?
Remember the remarks that detonated this crisis? Napheesa, in her exit interview, unleashed a firestorm on Engelbert. She called the WNBA's leadership the most incompetent in professional sports. She accused Engelbert of brushing off injuries, entering player voices, and projecting a false reality, while the officiating was a joke. And then, the dagger. Engelbert's assertion that Caitlin Clark should be thankful the WNBA exists at all, because without it, she'd be anonymous. Are you kidding me, Cathy? Caitlin Clark was a cultural phenomenon in college, selling out arenas nationwide. She had major endorsement deals before she even left Iowa. She drew bigger TV audiences for a single NCAA game than some WNBA championship games have ever seen. And your grand strategy was to tell her to be grateful? That's like telling a blockbuster film franchise it should be grateful to the movie theater for providing a screen. It's completely absurd. And that breathtaking level of condescension is precisely why Adam Silver was forced to act. Because here's the unvarnished truth. Caitlin Clark resuscitated a league that was fading from the public consciousness. She lifted attendance, ratings, sponsorships, and the value of media rights. She brought in a tidal wave of new fans. And how was she rewarded? Engelbert let her become a human piñata on the court, then fined anyone who dared to question the officiating. Even Fever coach Stephanie White got hit with a fine for simply echoing Cheryl Reeves' concerns. That's how toxic it got. Coaches were muzzled, players were muzzled, and fans who pointed out the chaos were labeled hostile.
Well, let me clarify first, because it's proxy season, right? No CEO, do you just put the base pay in there. You put their bonus, you put their stock options, you put everything. Caitlin has the ability to make up to $500,000 just in WNBA wages this year. So, of course, they're just looking at a base which is collectively bargained. And actually, it's low. Because she's a #1 pick, she'll make a little more than that. But she also has millions and millions of dollars of endorsements. She's actually, because she declared to become pro, her endorsements are higher in dollar value. She has a global platform now, not just a U.S. platform. So she's going to do just fine, as will the top players in the league, as every league does. Also, there's comparisons to the men. Those men's leagues are 75 to 120 years old. We're tipping off our 28th season. I would say if you looked at them 28 seasons in, we're further ahead. But I realize we still have a lot of work to do. And it's all about the ecosystem.
So Adam Silver intervened. And let's be clear, this is bigger than just Clark. This is about the entire league teetering on the brink of collapse, because its leader was incapable of connecting with players, managing her officials, or running the WNBA as anything other than a soulless corporation. And the refs? Fans have been furious all season about the chaotic calls. Players have been furious about the brutal physicality. Engelbert's defense? We have the world's best officials. The world's best? These are the same officials who would miss a flagrant foul if a player was body slammed into the cheap seats. As Becky Hammon noted, if the NBA operated with this level of incompetence, there would be brawls every night. But in the WNBA, it's tolerated, because chaos is supposedly good for ratings. Well, that chaos is great until your main attraction is on the floor with a rib injury and viewership is cratering. That chaos is great until stars like Collier are out with injury. That chaos is great until your audience gives up and walks away.
Thank you all for your time today. I have prepared a statement that I would like to make before taking any questions. All right. So first of all, I'd like to congratulate the Mercury for advancing to the finals. And I want to be clear, this conversation is not about winning or losing. It's about something much bigger. The real threat to our league isn't money, it isn't ratings, or even missed calls, or even physical play. It's the lack of accountability from the league office. Since I've been in the league, you've heard the constant concerns about officiating, and it has now reached levels of inconsistency that plague our sport and undermine the integrity in which it operates.
And that's exactly what was happening. Ratings dipped. Attendance outside of fever games was stagnant. Fans would ignore non-Clark matchups. All the while, Engelbert insisted the ship was sailing smoothly. That's why Silver pulled the plug. The WNBA was handed a winning lottery ticket in Clark. And instead of cashing it in, Engelbert tried to set it on fire. Now, regarding the timing, some will say Silver was too slow, others too fast. I say he acted at the exact moment the league was about to implode. You cannot survive having multiple players go viral while denouncing their commissioner. You can't have your MVPs call your leadership negligent. And you certainly can't have Caitlin Clark's massive fanbase threatening to tune out for good. This firing was an act of preservation for the WNBA, as much as it was a punishment for Engelbert. Because let's be brutally honest, the NBA won't say it, but Clark is their entire financial strategy. She is the leverage for the next massive media deal. She is the reason advertisers are suddenly throwing money at the league. She is the reason seats are full. Without her, the WNBA is back to being an afterthought on the sports calendar. And Engelbert had the audacity to belittle her. That's why she's out of a job.
At Unrivaled this past February, I sat across from Cathy and asked how she planned to address the officiating issues in our league. Her response was, well, only the losers complain about the refs. I also asked how she planned to fix the fact that players like Caitlin, Angel, and Paige, who are clearly driving massive revenue for the league, are making so little for their first 4 years. Her response was, Caitlin should be grateful she makes $16 million off the court, because without the platform that the WNBA gives her, she wouldn't make anything. And in that same conversation, she told me players should be on their knees thanking their lucky stars for the media rights deal that I got them. That's a mentality driving our league from the top. We go to battle every day to protect a shield that doesn't value us. The league believes it succeeds despite its players, not because of them.
But let's not give Silver a standing ovation. He didn't just have a sudden realization that Engelbert was failing. Players and fans have been screaming about this for months. No, this was a business decision, pure and simple. The money was at risk. The NBA saw sponsorships in jeopardy, fans threatening boycotts, and new leagues like Unrivaled smelling weakness. If Clark had ever said, "I'm out," it would have been a kill shot to the league. Silver could not let it get to that point. So Cathy is gone. And now the question is who replaces her. This is where things get treacherous. The league doesn't just need a savvy business person. It needs someone with basketball in their blood, who respects the athletes and who can rebuild burnt bridges. The next commissioner can't just be a deal maker. Their mandate is to restore integrity. They must make players feel like partners, not employees. They must make fans feel heard, not dismissed. And frankly, that is a Herculean task, because Engelbert leaves behind a disaster zone of angry players, disillusioned fans, unaccountable officials, and a league office that prefers spin to substance. The next person in charge has to start by cleaning house with the officiating. Until that is fixed, nothing else can be.
Lucky she's got a $16 million deal because of the platform the WNBA gave her. It is the single dumbest thing ever said by a sports commissioner in American sports.
Now let's bring the focus back to Caitlin Clark. Because without question, this outcome revolves around her. She is the epicenter of this entire saga. Her mistreatment on the court, the dismissiveness she faced off it, and her undeniable importance to the league are the catalysts for Silver's action. And the supreme irony? Engelbert thought Clark was the one who needed the WNBA. It was the other way around. The league needed Clark to survive. Now it has to prove it's worthy of her before she decides her talents are better served elsewhere. So where does that leave us? With a commissioner fired mid-scandal, a fan base seething but hopeful, a league in a desperate fight for its credibility, and a superstar in Caitlin Clark, who may, for the first time, feel like the organization is taking her seriously. But don't think for a second this is a magic fix. Ousting Engelbert was just step one. A mountain of problems remains. Awful officiating, erratic discipline, non-existent communication with players, and a culture of fines over dialogue. The new commissioner must reverse that course immediately. And one more thing before we continue. The way Sophie Cunningham and Lexi Hull instantly had Collier's back, that was no coincidence. That was a coordinated power play. The players sensed a vacuum of leadership, and they moved to fill it. And good for them, because without that public pressure, without that unified front, Silver might have just let Engelbert ride it out. Instead, she's gone, and the WNBA will never be the same. So this is where the plot thickens. Cathy Engelbert is gone, but the aftershocks are just beginning. Let's be perfectly clear. Adam Silver didn't do this because he had a sudden change of heart about player welfare. He did it because she became a brand liability. When you have Napheesa Collier, Sophie Cunningham, and Lexi Hull all trending for blasting the commissioner, that's a public relations nightmare you can't spin your way out of. Silver had to protect the NBA's bottom line. Don't forget, this is not just about women's hoop. The WNBA's media rights are directly linked to the NBA's financial future. Silver had networks at the table for billion-dollar negotiations, and when Engelbert made those tone-deaf remarks about Clark's gratitude, she weakened the NBA's entire position. You do not sabotage your most valuable asset. Now let's talk about Clark again, because she is the sun around which this entire system orbits. She's not a rookie anymore. She has single-handedly made the Fever a must-watch team. She has shattered viewership records. She is the face of this league, whether some other players like it or not. And Engelbert's response? She minimized her impact, downplayed her injuries, and treated her like a cog in her machine. That is not leadership. It's professional malpractice. Collier exposed it all. She told us Engelbert literally said, "Only losers complain about the refs." So the entire Fever fan base, losers. Coaches like Stephanie White who want fair calls, losers. Players getting beat up, losers. That was Engelbert's philosophy. Then she claimed Clark's endorsement portfolio was a product of the WNBA. Give me a break. Clark had a roster of national sponsors before she was even drafted. She was the most marketable college athlete in a generation. She packed arenas across the country. The league needed her, not the other way around. And that hubris, that inability to grasp reality, is why she's unemployed. This is where Adam Silver's move was shrewd. He didn't let Engelbert resign with dignity. He fired her. He sent an unmistakable message that the NBA had lost all confidence in her. That's vital because it signals to the players that the league office is not untouchable. Your voice can create change. Collier proved it. Sophie proved it. Lexi proved it. The revolt worked. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. The problems are not solved. The WNBA still has a fundamental crisis with its officiating. Fans see it, the inconsistent calls, the obvious bias, the targeting. Firing Engelbert doesn't magically reform the referees. The new commissioner has to come in and tear down the current system. Full-time officials, real accountability and transparency. Without that, nothing will change. And frankly, the refs have been the biggest story of the year. More than Clark scoring Boston's dominance, or Reese's theatrics. Every week the discourse is about blown calls and suspect ejections. That speaks volumes about how far the product declined under Engelbert. Let's look at the 30,000-foot view. The WNBA was presented with a golden era. Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, Aaliyah Boston, with Paige Buckers on the way. All eyes were on them. Instead of seizing the moment, Engelbert fumbled it. Ratings for non-Clark games are abysmal. Players are demoralized, fans are exasperated, and rival leagues are circling like sharks. Silver knew it. That's why he acted now. Because if Clark ever decided she'd had enough, if she ever left for another league, it would be game over. Imagine 1 million viewers following her elsewhere. The NBA could not let that happen. So Engelbert is gone. And now the question on everyone's mind is, who's next? Here's my prescription. The next commissioner has to achieve 3 things. 1. Fix the officiating. Effective immediately. No more excuses. Players need to know they can play without being assaulted. Fans need to know they're watching a legitimate sport. 2. Value your stars. Clark, Reese, Boston. They are the product. Protect them, market them, and kill the idea that the league is bigger than them. It's not. Without stars, you have an empty building. 3. Build trust with the athletes. End the fines for honesty. Stop dismissing injuries. Banish the arrogance. The commissioner has to be visible, engaged, and actually invested in the people who make the league function. Because here's the bottom line. The WNBA can't afford another Engelbert. It barely survived this one. Now let's talk about the fans. Because the Fever fan base has been at a boiling point all year. They saw their superstar targeted. They saw refs swallow their whistles on blatant fouls. They saw their coach penalized for speaking up. Now finally, they see a measure of justice. But it's not enough. They want consistency. They want transparency. They want to know that their investment of time and money is for a fair competition, not a predetermined spectacle. If the league can't deliver that, the fans will vanish. We've seen the proof. Non-Clark games have terrible ratings, sparse crowds, and zero online buzz. Fans are loyal to players, not a logo. And if the league continues to alienate those players, well, firing Engelbert was step 1. But step 2 is ensuring her successor doesn't walk the same path. Let's also be blunt. Engelbert's corporate background was always a terrible match. She was a Deloitte executive, not a basketball strategist. She knew how to read a spreadsheet, but she didn't know how to read a room of athletes. She secured deals, sure, but at what cost to the product itself? You can have $1 billion rights deal, but it's worthless if nobody wants to watch the games. She was tasked with making the league its best self, and her failure to do so is why she's gone. Now, before I close, let's return one final time to Caitlin Clark, because this entire affair is, in essence, her victory. She never had to say a word. Other players carried the banner for her, but everyone knows the implicit truth. Protecting Clark is protecting the league's future. That's it. Clark is the centerpiece. Engelbert had the gratitude equation completely backward. Clark doesn't need the WNBA. The WNBA needs Clark. And Adam Silver just proved it by firing his commissioner. So Cathy Engelbert is out. Adam Silver pulled the trigger, and the WNBA has been irrevocably altered. But here is the lingering question. Will the next person in charge actually fix this mess? Or are we just setting the stage for more of the same? Drop your thoughts below, share this, and subscribe. Trust me, you won't want to miss what comes next.